Hey, have you ever run into this problem? You've created a dashboard for your boss in Looker Studio using GA4 data, and they go and look at total users or users to the site. Then they look in GA4 and it's not the same, and they're pointing fingers at you going like, why is your dashboard wrong? So let's take a look at why that might be. I'm going to give you a hint. It's how Google defines users. So we're going to take a look at that a little bit more closely. All right, so in your dashboard in Looker Studio, if you look at this example for this website, we've got total users is 1308. But if we go to Google Analytics 4 and look at the total users in our traffic acquisition, it's 1306. Now, that's close, but it's still not the same. Why is that? So what Google doesn't make clear is that users in this context on the site is different than total users. So users here, if you hover over this, it's the number of active users. So not just total users, it's active users. So we're going to take a look at how Google defines that. Okay, so a user in Google Analytics 4 is a unique user to your site during a specific period of time. But Google defines those users a little bit differently depending on their behavior and depending on the report that you're looking at. So keep in mind, unique user during a specific period of time. Now that person can come back, say you're looking at last week. That person might come back to your site 3 or 4 times. Those would be sessions. They've had 3 or 4 sessions, which is going to always typically be greater than your users. So user only counted once during that period of time if it's a unique user, but she might have 10 sessions. So the sessions are always going to be the number of times that they've come back during that period of time. Users are going to be the unique user. So what defines an active user? So like we said, in these reports, an active user is what's being shown. An active user is somebody who's come to the site and done something specific. So they have had an engagement time of over 10 seconds. So they've stayed on that site, read something. They've done something on the site, like click on a video, click on a link, that type of thing. They have viewed more than 2 pages. So they didn't just land on a page and then leave immediately. That would be a bounce. That's not an active user. Or they've, done some conversion on the site. So they've, downloaded a form or filled out a form, purchased something, added something to the cart. They've done some sort of activity. So the reason Google is reporting on active users and not total users is because they really want you to focus on those people that are engaged with your site. They've done something on the site. They've stayed there. They didn't just accidentally come to your site and immediately bounce. So those bounces are really, they didn't find what they wanted. But in typical Google fashion, it doesn't really tell you that unless you hover over this. So in this report, this is active users, right? So user acquisition is even different from active users, because if you look in user acquisition report, they're looking at new users, all right? So this is the users during that period of time that are interacting with your site for the first time. And so this report, user acquisition, is looking at new users, right? And traffic acquisition is looking at active users. I don't know why there would be any confusion. So this is typical Google. Those are things that you're going to have to keep in mind. You're going to have to define for your boss or your clients or whoever you're doing the report for, that these reports are showing different metrics for users. So there's new users in this one, active users in that one. Total users is the number of active and inactive users to your site at a given time. So that is, how that total number is. So total is looking at even the people that bounced, right? And so that was the difference in this report. So this is using total users, even the ones who bounce. Okay. There's other types of users. So there's total users, active users, new users. There's also returning users. Okay. Returning users, one of the calculations that Google uses for this too is that it also looks at people who bounced initially. So if somebody bounced on your website and then came back again, that's a returning user. So it may not have counted that in the traffic report because it was a not active user, but they are considering them a returning customer if they have bounced and come back to your site. So to find returning users, there's a couple ways you can do it. So one of them is to go to the Lifecycle tab. If you don't see that, you can add it in your library. We've done some videos on that in the past, so we'll link to that as well. So you go to Acquisition, go down to Retention, click on that, and you can see this breaks out the returning users and the new users during that period of time. So this is where you can see a trend for returning users. Now, admittedly, this isn't super informative. There's not a lot of information about what the returning users are doing. So what can be more helpful is if you go to your acquisition reports, say your traffic acquisition, for example, all you need to do is click on the pencil, go to metrics, start typing returning users. Okay, apply. And now when you go in, you can actually order these too. Let's order this a little bit better so it's up near the other users. Let's click apply again. And so now you have a column here that's returning users. So now you can see a little bit more useful information about like where these returning users are coming from and, what channels are driving it, that kind of thing. You can then save this report, save it to the current report. And that way, when you come back to this, you will have the returning users data in there going forward. So again, helpful information, but a little bit difficult to find in GA4. You can also use this in the Explore tool where you can pull in more information about returning users and how they're converting and that kind of stuff. So you can build out reports about returning users. So where these users are also important, both new and returning users and that type of data, is if you're creating audiences. So those audiences can be used for, remarketing in Google Ads. It can also monitor their behavior on your site. So creating that audience is pretty simple. We actually have a video about doing audiences that I will link below, how to create audiences. Again, those are super helpful. So if somebody's coming back, returning all the time, and they're not converting, you can create an audience for that group, then start focusing ads for those people to try to help convert them. You can also add other criteria, like, so say they're a returning user who's added products to the cart but didn't purchase, that could be an audience. And so that way you can target them specifically in your marketing efforts. So users are a little bit jumbled in Google. That is a little bit typical of the way GA4 was implemented. So it's important to keep in mind that your users might be different depending on the report that you look at and what you have in your dashboard. So it could be active users, could be total users in your report, or it could be new users, depending. So make sure you're looking at that. Make sure you're educating your boss and your team that those metrics are different, because it will throw them off if they're looking at these reports and there's all of a sudden these different numbers in the different reports because they're not looking at the headers, right? We're not understanding the difference between first users or new users or, active users. So I hope this was helpful. It's a little quick guide into users and how they're defined in Google. We are constantly running into miscommunication issues because also, users were defined differently in UA. So if you're looking at, year-over-year data where there's UA data in there, those metrics are going to be slightly different. So if you see trends that are different from how UA measured stuff to the way GA4 measures stuff, that's also important to think about when you're looking at past data that might have been exported from UA. Some of that those definitions are different in UA. So, hopefully you're not depending on a lot of that data anymore, but it's not going to be apples to apples in your reporting. So if you have any questions about users, let us know. If you would like help building your dashboards or getting to understand GA4 better, we do training sessions, and those are available. If you visit us on our site and ask about those, we can set up training sessions for you and your team. We can also help you with your Looker Studio implementation or building out your dashboards. Just let us know. As always, though, have a great day. Good luck with GA4. We understand your pain, and hopefully this was helpful. Thanks. Bye.